Generic greetings and welcome back to Satisfactory, where in the previous episode it was a bit of a blunder in a couple of cases. We were focusing on getting A power because we put in a total of 8 refineries, and that's not all of the refineries we're going to have as well. We have to have more when we get some fuel, but that's another story. And we're producing plastic and rubber, but because of the immense requirement for power, the grid needed to be improved, which is exactly what we did over there. We increased the amount of coal-fired power plants that we had, but the problem with that again is that we didn't then have enough supply of coal, so we changed up so we had the bigger vehicle, but that didn't fit, so we then had to change the entire row, so it's now a belt, which in the long term is going to be better anyway. We also changed over on the far right, where we have our other truck that goes down to collect coal for the steel mills. Now, that one was a little bit dodgy because when I set it up, I didn't anticipate the space needed, but we managed to get there with a couple of bumps and scrapes. And the thing is, we we need to go back and change things, but I've actually watched the vehicle come back, and quite frankly, although it is very rough and ready, and whoever the AI is that driving it like they stole it, it does actually get back, so we've got that going for us, so we don't need to go and alter that. What we're going to do in this episode is actually do some screwing. We do need to get some more screws. The problem is that a lot of the products that we now need require screws, so I'll go through that in but a moment. Let me just take some of these, actually take all, there we are. So if we go over to our production center in the middle here, let's see if we can jump over all of these and ignore all the health and safety warnings. There we are. We do need to get rid of, or we'll sort all, and what do we need to get rid of? We'll get rid of that little bit of coal there because it's only 2 of it, and that should be about fine. Okay, do we need all of those beacons? We don't need actually any beacons, so I'm going to get rid of those. We can create more if we need to, and that should be about it. Right. And then I'll dump those in there as well. So, we have a lot of resources that we need to make. To make the jetpack, which is our current milestone, we need, if we go down here, we need the heavy modular frames, which requires modular frames, which is what we're producing over on our sort of southeast, that little that sort of plateau that we went to, where it's actually full. It's not producing anything else now because the cargo container is full, which is fantastic. We need steel pipe, which is up on our left. We need the reinforced or encased industrial beams, which we've got them as well, so they're up there, so that's fine. And then finally we need some screws. So basically the only thing we're missing out on up there, the 2 things are the modular frames, which we can bring up that belt there, so that's not a problem at all, and the screws, which we are not producing anywhere in abundance apart from somewhere in the spaghetti factory, so that's not really useful for us. The other thing that we need to make, as you can see on the top right there, is computers, and computers require the circuit boards, which we're not producing, plastic, which we are producing, some cable, which we are producing, but it's nowhere near where we need it to be, and then finally, once again, screws. So there's another problem. So we need at least two sets of screws extra than what we've got. The cable we can bring again up and around from that if we do so desire, although it's starting to get a little bit cramped, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. We just need to add another another extra bit on top of that, and then we can use the bottom rung because there's a spare one, and then the top rung, and that should be both those resources along there, but that's a futurist problem. To make circuit boards we require copper wire, and also plastic. So circuit boards, yeah, again we need some copper wire, but it's bringing up from there. So overall, the resources that we need to produce the modular frame things, the reinforced ones, and the computers, we either have the resources in the factory and are close to where we need to have them, so either over here or over there, or we're bringing them up via the logistical network that we've got set up anywhere, or it's going to require a quick expansion. The only thing that's missing are screws, so we need to solve that. So let's press C and go to iron ore, and I don't know why I'm doing that, but representation, you'll be able to see we get a ping over here. This is where we've got several iron ore bits, so I'm going to set that to 4. We need to go for, I say 4 miners, we don't need 4 miners, we need 2 probably, but I mean, I guess you can't have too many screws. I think we do need quite a lot of those. Let's work on the principle that we're going to need quite a bit. So I'm going to pick up, say, a big stack of them there. That should be fine. We need portable miners, which we can create with an equipment workshop. Just drop that down, and then it's just a simple case of 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'll place 4 of them anyway, just as a matter of course. And we'll see how we get on. And then we need to remove that. Okay. So then we're going to go down there. The truck's back. So you can see that the truck has the braking capabilities of a wheel of brie. I think that's what's on these wheels here. So what actually happens is it comes down there and it tries to decelerate, fails to do so, and then basically overshots it to about there, and then turns around and then drives forward. But at least it's unloading, and actually we're getting a profit there, even though we've overclocked a lot of things as well. So overall, that's fine. Let me pick up this berry. Not enough space for berry. Okay, let me not pick up that berry. Okay, so not enough space for all pure, so I'm going to have to get rid of some of this stuff as well. What do I want to get rid of that I don't really need? All of this is really useful, apart from 7 of that. Okay, so let's start picking up this iron ore. So we need to clear these off, and then we need to produce the screws. Now, I was thinking that we can produce screws over there. Over there-ish, but the problem with that is that there's the problem right there. It means having to get it over there. Either means going round that way, and it's going to be quite a ways round that way, or we go up and across and down, and that requires a lot more spirals and all sorts. And quite frankly, if we're spending the time going all the way up and then across and then down just to produce, or going all the way around, we might as well just put it there and then make all of this our production area for the screws, and then loop the screws round on an individual basis to where we need them. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go for this is iron ore pure, but I'm guessing the vein below will not be pure. Let me check. That is, it's totally impure. That's actually not good. So we're going to get rid of this iron ore. We do not need it on our person. We'll sort all that. Still got 1 slot, and we need to place some of these miners. We're going to rotate them so they head over that away. That should be fine, like so. And we're going to do the same to these two. Now, whether or not we connect all of them up is a different story. I might just work on the principle of using 2 first and then expanding to 4 if we need to, but haven't yet fully confirmed that. Also, because of the limited space, there is a reasonable argument to be made when it comes to making a prefab to make a unit without concrete and walls and such that we can easily build upon, and I'm not against that at all. In fact, I think that's a fairly decent idea. The problem is the amount of resources it's going to take and the time it'll take. So assuming we were to build around here, let's just clear some of these living things, and there we go. Let's see what we've got. Won't need all this cleared, but if you're going to butcher some trees, you might as well keep going, right? Maybe up here as well. And the birds can nest elsewhere. Right, so I joke about all this, but genuinely is a, it eats away at me every time we do it, because, yeah, it doesn't seem right chopping down all this. There's no, like, the biters and the spitters and other things in Factorio are like the sort of kickback from that. If you do all the pollution and stuff, then it's gonna cause you an issue in game. In this game, not so much. Pollution doesn't matter. Don't know if they are gonna put that in, but we'll have to see. Anyway, so we're gonna get rid of all this garbage that we don't need, leaves and all that. Right. So from here, these are going to produce some amount of resources equal to 60 a minute. Not good. Okay, well, it's not terrible. If we then smelt that, that is 30 a minute, so we can go for a two for one. 2 for 1 offer. So if we overclock this, double overclock it to 120, is that really necessary? I mean, really? I don't think it is it? We'll just go 2 of these into several smelters. So 60 a minute, 30 a minute, so 4 smelters, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. I'll press the right button eventually. And how are we going to build this? Away from that vehicle, that's for sure. So it comes down here. And I think this is pretty much where it stops. It doesn't come to about here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we can place more if we need to. Okay, so those will come down from them ones, I think. So, splitter. And there we go. It's only going to come down a rate of 120, but we're using tier 3 belts anyway, just as a matter of course. Bring them up to the edge there. That goes in there quite nicely, and in there quite nicely as well, and it looks cool. So, smelting. Smelting. I should probably connect it up to some sort of power source first. There to there. And there to there. Was that correct? No. Come on. No. So they're all connected. Not currently set up for anything, but I will set them up. All iron. We currently haven't used the quick wire to any great extent, which is a bit of a shame. Not that we need to, you understand. Let me get rid of these trees here, because it's going to look a bit iffy. They're fine. Okay. So, power for this one then. So, there's them connected up. They're going to start producing. That, and that. And we're now producing 60 a minute. We can overclock it if we want to, but we are not going to. So, that's going to come down, and these are then going to produce the 30 iron ingots. So, what do we need now? Well, we need constructors, multiples of. We've got screws. To create screws, we can either say screws there, which is the iron rods, which require that, or we can say alternate screws, which requires 15 iron ingots a minute, which means we can have, oh my good grief, a lot. That's a lot more screws than I originally thought that we'd need. 15 a minute. Ingots. So we're going to have 8. Really? Is that what I'm going to attempt? I mean, we'll never want for screws again. Actually, that's not the case. When you play these sort of games, always anticipate, or always work out what you think you'll need. Double it, and then still get it wrong. Because it might be what you need now, but in the future, yeah, that could be also wrong. Because logistics change, where things are changes. I mean, it's all a matter of things being different. And that's why it's really, unless you've played the game multiple times, it's very, very difficult to anticipate exactly what you need. And even if you do, you might end up getting it wrong anyway. And then the problem is that if you do have like basically a spreadsheet of exactly what you need, then there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that, well, you then have this thing where you've basically just following a pattern, and then, well, basically you might as well write an AI to play the game yourself. There's limits on these things, you understand. Anyway, so we've got. Is that correct? I think that's correct. So let's go over to the splitter and connect all these up. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay. So first ones. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to use. What's the throughput on that? 30 a minute. We could use tier 1 if we really wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. The reason I'm trying to save these the Mark II, the Mark IIIs, is because that requires steel, and although steel production is very, very good, I'm also aware that we need another 1,000 or so for our other iron belt. Sorry, our other oil belt. So yeah, there's this all put in. Actually, a lot faster installing this than I thought. Okay. Let's connect all this up. And obviously these are screws. Every single one of them screws. I'm worried about the voltage drop on this. It's going to be a bit. So over to there, and then there, and then finally. Right. So we've got not got no issues at the moment. And we have 90 screws a minute. Okay. So set all these to screws and get them going. Okay. So, we now have 90 screws a minute. We now need to put them into boxes. Okay. How do you want to put them into boxes? 90 minute, 180. Ooh, if we don't have a 4-word merger, do we? Okay, so it's just going to be 4 boxes essentially. We'll use these storage container Mark IIs because they're just bigger. I'll go back over and I'll get the pipes required. And now that we've got the screws, then we can start transporting other stuff. Up here to produce pretty much whatever we need. Although, to be fair, the obvious is sort of staring us right in the face. In that our current milestone is jetpack, you've also got gas masks, and you've got fuel stations. That's it. That doesn't do anything anymore. There's no more tiers after this. So yeah, I'd like to at least get all of the. I like to get all of these other stuff up and running. So computers and the modular frame things, reinforced ones. I'd like to get all them up and running just to say that we've done it. But in reality, now the goal of the goal's always been to have fun. That's always been the goal of this thing. But in reality, there's no real end game. Not that you need one to have fun, you understand. It's just you know, mentioning the obvious, I guess. So 90 a minute, we can use tier 2s then. I call them tier 2s, I know they're called Mark 2s. But you know what I mean. If you don't, then that's very unfortunate. Tier 3s on that one though, because it's 180 a minute. Darn it, I don't think I can get in that one. Oh yeah, I can. Just, but we got there. And there we go. And the truck doesn't hit, which is always an advantage. Right, how many screws have we got now? 400 and odd? 420 screws? No, that's not right. We've got 4 sets of... Was it 4 sets of 90? Yeah, enough. Enough for what we need. Okay. We'll leave it there. That's a huge section up and running, and we still haven't got those working as well. So we've got all these screws. What are we going to do with them? Well, as mentioned at the start of the episode, to give us some perspective of why we're doing this, we need to produce a couple of things. We need the computers, which require screws. And that's a thing, actually. Let's see. Do we have a manufacturer? We don't have a manufacturer, and we can't build it because we don't have all the resources. Okay, we'll check that next episode then. Because we need a manufacturer for the computers and a manufacturer for the... Let me get the proper name of it, because I keep forgetting. Heavy modular frames. The ones call it reinforced or whatever. Anyway, so... Because reinforced iron plate, and then, yeah, convention and all that being broke. Nothing matters. So yeah, we need 2 of those to work, but we need screws to be brought over to right behind us. We need to bring the modular frames up from the other side of the factory, which is quite easily done. For the computers, we need that wire. That cable we don't necessarily need to bring up here, because we have the copper cable anyway, the wire. So maybe we can. Maybe we can either split that up and then produce it locally, or we'll probably bring it up because we've got all the belt network there anyway, so we'll do it that way. So next episode we'll bring those resources up, and then we'll focus on getting at least one of these, either heavy modular frames, probably heavy modular frames is what we'll get up and running automatically, get that producing automatically, and then we'll work on computers. And the reason we're not doing computers first is because, quite frankly, it requires circuit boards, which is even more stuff and more splitting, and that one's, I think, the easier task. That one there, I think, is the easier task. So we'll see how we get on. Hope you have enjoyed the video and the series and all of that sort of thing. Comments in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, and generic partings.